A beautiful Wednesday morning to you. Have through the second week in the month of July, and just like every other day, I say a lovely morning to you and yours. This is Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, your premier destination for all things news, all things analysis. Before this segment, we refer to news as reported on the front pages of our dailies. It was a very, very hectic night, I know, with the rain, and a lot of people have to be outside at this time. So I advise that you're extremely careful and you take caution as you step outside of your house today because of the rains. I know people who are heading for the island, people who work on the island and have to be out of the house early this morning. The roads are not very interesting, for lack of better word, and then I advise that you are safe. So if you're driving, please, this is not the time for you to test your ability for speed. Be very, very careful. You understand the state of the road. And for those of us who are taking commercial buses, I do not even know the right advice to give you. Just ensure that you occasionally draw your driver's attention to the fact that it's raining and the roads are bad. The roads are not in very great condition at this time. Safety first. And there are a lot of communities who unfortunately cannot come out of their house because their area is too flooded for people to step outside. But all in all, this is an experience that we have become familiar with, and we must take precautions until we're able to find a permanent solution to some of the disruptions that are usually caused by the rains. But anyway, we made it here. We made it here by all means because it is our responsibility, and that's why I'm telling you welcome and thank you for staying with us regardless. So whether or not you're going home, you're working from home, you're going to work, I beg your pardon, you're working from home, you're already at the office, and you're looking for an opportunity to update yourself on events playing out within the country, you have chosen the right station. As I introduced earlier, you are currently listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is Sage. Guardian, Vanguard, and Punch newspaper are the papers of choice in no particular order because most of the stories are the same, but we will try to address the most prominent stories as much as we can. We have an online community that is teeming, so you can join that community, and the many privileges you enjoy is watching what happens in real time, familiarizing yourself with the broadcaster and all papers. So if you're somebody who wants to say something about everything, our streaming platform is the best place for you. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, as well as on YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. We're currently live on Facebook, so you can join us there and actually start to comment on some of the things we would begin to talk about in just a few minutes once I have Whiteside on board. After this segment, we have the Mainland Focus segment. This is where you actually are allowed to call in and give your opinion on the matters that have been discussed. You can decide to comment on the stories that have been discussed earlier, whether or not you have a fresh perspective or you agree with the analyst is really up to you. There's WhatsApp, there's the phone line, there's phone as we begin Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. We'll be opening with the Guardian newspaper, but let's say our salutations and get into the conversation. Outside, a lovely morning to you. How are you today?
Yeah, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm well. Are you on the road yet?
Yeah, I'm on the road. Bit wet, but at least the rains have stopped. So
yeah,
still a bit wet. And
I understand.
I'm not I think it's a bit flooded in some parts of Lagos.
Yes, actually, it is. It is.
I think on the island, I've seen videos of Lekki people complaining.
Yeah, and that one is doing. They want to do social class. They want to.
I want to say Lekki.
Yeah, now you want to stay in Lekki. Look at you now. You're.
I don't think it's going to last for too long. Except maybe some areas where the canals have been blocked or clogged. But it's not a situation with the level of floods and clogged drainage. We're still able to deal with it.
Prone to flooding, but aside from that, we have a lot of things to deal with simultaneously as we're talking about the flooding incidents in Lagos and in different parts of the country. Let's talk about the most recent stories that we have, especially this morning. I'll start with the Guardian newspaper, and we are going to kick off with conversations around the education sector. Now, we did get information, and 16 years as the admission age. The riders to that particular headline is cut off 100 for Poly, College of Education, 140 for nursing. LASU, Unilag, Unilorin, most sought after institutions. There's foul play in result of highest scorer, JAMB. Anambra Imo, top list of UTME exam malpractice centers. Now, to the story in itself, the quest for autonomy by Nigerian public tertiary institution yesterday fixed a blanket admission criteria that pegged the entry age at 16 years. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, a federal government agency, session, while admission into College of Nursing was pegged at 140. Polytechnics and College of Education were left at 100. Fairness and academic excellence in the nation's tertiary education system. So, Fuad, there's a number of the tertiary institutions where they set the standard for what admission protocols should be, and they expect a level of academic excellence in their students. Some go lower, some do 120, there's some that do 100, but now JAMB has pegged it at 150. They increased it from 120 at 150. And so there's a question around this 18 years old that has been addressed. They have reached a consensus. Well, maybe not a consensus, because this is JAMB making a declaration that 16 years old are saying even 150 cutoff mark is a sign that the education sector is suffering. Because sometime in, was it 2014 thereabouts, within the school structure, within the education structure, what is your reaction to all the many angles to this particular?
That keeps dropping, and there seems to be no solution anywhere. Because again, we are talking of out of about 400 score in total. We are not even able to say, look, 50% should be you can get admission into a polytechnic or a college of education in Nigeria. With the universities, it has now been pegged at 150. And what it means is that, look, there are some universities that will not go below 200. That will just be their standard. I think they mentioned some of them.
Yeah.
Schools or some universities will do 200 and above some courses for some courses, while for some other courses, they might decide to drop it a bit, if rightly pointed out. Because again, apart from the fact that these universities would also be looking at minimum, keeping their own cutoff mark higher in terms of those saying, oh, it's going to be 200 and above. These private universities always want to just look. Even if you score 120, just come. Because, again, they need the students. They run fully on what they are able to make. You understand what I'm saying? So, all in all, this was not just a decision taken by JAMB. It was not an exclusive decision taken by JAMB. That's within the sector, JAMB inclusive, all coming together to take a decision on what would be the cutoff mark for admission. And they've done this year's own, and the result is that universities any student from 150 and above can be admitted into our universities, and for polytechnics 100, that there's a significant improvement in the education sector. We keep dropping by the day, and we can only talk about these things. Still not interested, if you ask me. You understand, and unfortunately, it's not just about even the schools now. What about the parents? What about quality of teachers? And a whole lot of other things, quote and unquote, mess in the education sector. Quality continues to drop, unfortunately.
Well, very sad reality that we have to continue to interfere with what the standard should be so we can accommodate students who don't seem very keen on education. But we have to consider the fact that we live in a society where every day you see reasons to justify why you should ignore education, which is sad. An ignorant society is a dangerous society. Children feel like, what is the point? The most uneducated people, the most incoherent, unintelligent people, so to speak, are the ones who seem to have access to the good life. But the educated ones, the ones who actually want to be better persons, are ignored by society. And so how do you convince these children to actually study? But that is the situation. And that is the situation, unfortunately. Well, let's move on to other stories here. We're still reviewing The Guardian. Anambra since 2022 are Igbos, says Soludo. The governor of Anambra State, Chukwuemeka Soludo, has accused criminals of Igbo extraction of this remark while speaking at an interactive town hall meeting with Anambra indigents in diaspora, which was held at the Metro Point Hotel in Maryland, United States. He said, and this is me reading verbatim, 99.99% of kidnappers and other criminals arrested in the state since I assumed office 3 years ago have been Igbos. He noted that almost every kidnapper that has been apprehended since he became the governor of Anambra State belongs to the Igbo ethnic group. I'm reading verbatim again. In my 3 years and 3 months in office, nearly every kidnapper and armed criminal we have apprehended is Igbo. Igbos are kidnapping and killing fellow Igbos and not Fulani herdsmen. Anambra belongs to all of us, up for months without local support. Who feeds them? Soludo questioned. End of quote. I actually read part of what he said. So we do have a governor who's saying that contrary to the popular notion, it turns out that most of the arrests that have been made shows that the perpetrators are actually of Igbo extraction. Fuad, do you think that this somehow turns the narrative, or this spins the narrative, and this influences whatever security structure they might need to put in place to ensure peace in the Southeast? Active governor, do you think that this would trigger emotions in the Southeastern people where they would disregard these comments that have been made by Charles Soludo?
If it triggers any emotion, then it will mean that the people of that region want to continue. I don't think there's anything political to this other than the fact that can we stop deceiving ourselves? To solve this problem, we have to tell ourselves the home truth. You know, again, like they always say, you cannot wake someone who is pretending to sleep. It's extremely difficult, really. If someone is pretending to sleep and you're trying to wake the person up, probably going to do. The level of insecurity in the Southeast is traceable to a whole lot of factors. A lot of them are domestic issues. And we've also said on this platform severally, for people who care to know, that criminality, that has engulfed the entire Southeast. But a lot of the perpetrators of these crimes are not from outside of the region. When at some point we started seeing media reports, labeling these criminals unknown gunmen, I question it. There is nothing like unknown gunmen. It was an attempt to begin to hide the identity of these perpetrators. On social media, we see videos, you see reports of people claiming to be members of either, when it comes to either the conversations around marginalization, equality, and what have you, is to perpetrate crime on their own people. Say it. Beyond the issue of kidnapping, what about people who say, people cannot write exam, sit at home? And then you see this thing, and from one criminality to another one, and then it has now become a major problem for the entire region. I think we will have some moments of respite in recent time. If you are wrong direction, would not help us. Let's stop killing ourselves. Yes, we know that there are genuine concerns. This is not the best way to make our voices heard. This is not the best way to attend to it. When it comes to the Kanu issue, I've always said it. I think that by now there should be a political solution to the problem. There's really no reason why it's still being kept. I had thought that, look, at this level there would have been a middle ground, get stakeholders in the region, leaders of thought, an ambassador of peace in the region. If something is worked out to ensure that, look, whatever concerns he's been trying to push out is well addressed. There's no problem in trying to look at some of the reasons for his agitation. For Nigeria, we understand that we have our problem. We understand that the government has failed us, but we shouldn't fail ourselves. If you understand what I'm saying. So when you now begin to perpetrate crime against your own people, then what then is the reason for your agitation? You want freedom. You want better share of the resources of the country. You want equity. So that encourages all manner of criminality within the region. I think that's what the governor is saying. Hey, look, let us not begin to deceive ourselves. There is one Fulani herdsman. Yes, maybe one or two. But what he has said is that if you look at the data, and I think if people can verify it, the number of arrests we've made when it comes to kidnapping and all manner of crime in the state, have turned out to be our own people. So it's just about speaking, with the criminals and people committing all manner of things in the region. So I think the governor is spot on. And I think leaders of thought, youth organizations, and people in the region should find a way to resolve their own problems, not necessarily by causing more panic and harm to their own people.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that side. Obviously, there would be a response to the statement made by Soludo. It's impossible for a response not to come. And let's see what that response will be. Would it be an admittance?
Who will respond?
We both know that there would be a response from one coffer or the other. It could be from any coffer. It could be from members of IPOB. It could be from members of the ESN.
He didn't mention them. He didn't mention them. What he has just said is that, look, what he has said is that, look, anytime we arrest people, they happen to be our own people.
That's liberators who might take this statement to heart and would want to respond to this comment. So I'm just saying that let's wait and see if there would be a response to this comment, which I'm pretty certain there would be. And also, let's see if this revelation will then inform the decisions to put up a security structure that actually tackles, because internal aggression and external aggression, the security structure to tackle it is very, very different. And we might have been using external aggression techniques to deal with an issue that is originally internal, and that's why we're probably not seeing any results at the end of the day. So let's wait and see what happens. This is still Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is Sage Babalola. Conversations are ongoing with Fuad Said. We are both reviewing the papers. Southeastern region are perpetrated by those of Igbo extraction. We're still live on Facebook. Thank you to everyone currently on the live stream. We appreciate your dedication to the program. Moving back to the stories, we have the Guardian. Reps seek to increase seat to 552, allocates 83 to women. The House of Representatives has proposed a constitution. The proposed framework, 83 additional seats would be created exclusively for women, 55 in the House of Representatives, increasing to 552. Speaker of the House, Tajuddin Abbas, announced the proposal on Tuesday at the official opening of the 2025 National Assembly Open Week and the launch of the 10th House Midterm Legislative Scorecard in Abuja, said the draft amendment seeks to embed the quotas in the Constitution to ensure long-term gender and disability inclusion. He believes that these reserved seats will be filled through direct election on separate ballot and distributed by the state to ensure regional balance. But as you know, there has been constitutional amendment review ongoing at the moment at the National Assembly, and one of the propositions here, and from 469 to 552 at the House of Reps and the National Assembly, respectively. I do know that in other countries, America, for example, they had incorporated the DEI initiative into their process as well, diversity, equity, and inclusion, but theirs was specifically for people of color, to allow for people of color to persons with disability. Would you consider this the right proposition? Or they can maintain the normal number, but create an avenue for women to be able to compose seats for women on a separate ballot, including persons with disability, or maintain your normal structure, but allow for women a healthy environment to compete and go toe-to-toe against their male counterpart. What are your thoughts, Fuad?
From the way we see things, as we speak today, I don't think there's any reason why women are not elected. I don't think that, look, why on the ballot, feminists do not like this, but that's just the fact. It's not as if, people deliberately say because it's a woman I will not vote for. These things are deeper. The reasons why we have this poor number, I think it's even as of the four, one this suspension, still battling for our seats, to return to our seat. In the House of Reps, I don't know the number, but I'm sure it's also very poor. Less than 10% is like, I'm sure it's really poor too. It's that orientation completely. For example, there are still parts of this country that will tell you that a woman can never be governor.
Right.
In fact, if your political party brings out a woman as governor, your reputation, and what have you. So I think that, look, this idea of, we now want to increase the number of seats to accommodate women and people with disability. Again, it's a variance with our core to reduce the cost of governance. We are still talking about the need. In fact, there are some of us who think that by now, with the quality of legislation we've seen in the last 25, 26 years, we should have just one chamber. There's no need for two. There's no reason why we have the Senate and Reps. It's been more jamboree. There's been nothing really in terms of good thinking, because it is not even about accommodating more women. What about the quality of women? The electoral system. Okay, we want one women. What kind of women are we going to get eventually from this wobbled electoral system? You don't understand what I'm saying. It's not just, even if you now agree, for example, give us quality people, quality women that can push through policies that will now say, oh, it was a right decision to have increased the numbers. Then if we now even decide that we should reserve some seats for women and people with disability, why can we one in each state should be reserved for women? Out of 3, men take 2, but 1 should be reserved for women. How we want to do that is you go and sort it out. Because it will now be, okay, which of the constituencies will be reserved for women? Or we are going to rotate it. It can be rotated. So, for example, in Lagos now, at this election, Lagos Central must produce women. All parties must produce women. Because whether you like it or not, if you look at the story, they will still get the same, even though it will be through a different election. But the same remuneration, everything will be gotten by these women, and at the end of the day, nothing happens. So I think that while we are even thinking of reducing the number, if this is even the period where people are saying that, look, legislative duty should be part-time. Why are they full-time? What are they really doing? When the president addressed the 2 houses the last time, most times you see empty seats. And for those who even go, who are not absentees, some of them don't even contribute anything to any debate or anything, because our system has not necessarily produced the best wasting government funds again because of what? I think what we should be looking at is reducing it or maintaining what we have, and then creating opportunities for women within what we currently operate.
I totally agree with you, Fᴜᴜ, I should say, because people are still the one who will vote for women. And so it's evident that will still not vote for these women, and it would deny other people who actually are qualified for that role the opportunity to be a part of that electoral competition. So this is a mindset thing. Unfortunately, we are in a very misogynistic society where people think, I've had someone one time call into the program and talk about, when women are on their period, they will just sign one bill that will cause problem for us. And that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life, because men don't have periods and they're busy causing wars across the world. Does Putin have periods? Yes, does Putin have periods?
Maybe a different kind of period.
Does Netanyahu have periods? But they're setting the entire world on. Does Trump have periods? But they're setting the entire world on about time in the month. It was ridiculous. But then it is what it is. That's the kind of...
It's the reason why there could be problems.
Yes, exactly. So because I'm on my period, I'll just sign that. Go and
but a lot of time people believe that, again, it's just a mindset. US.
Of course.
See, you know that there are people who still say that, look, the Democratic Party made a mistake by presenting Kamala.
Yes.
America was not ready for a woman. People say, the strongest and greatest country in the world cannot be ruled by a woman.
And I think maybe Tanzania.
Yeah, I think Tanzania.
Yeah, I think they have a female.
I think Tanzania and some other African countries have been able to take it.
They have female presidents in our lifetime. Honestly, maybe it will take of Nigerian children malnourished. Shettima laments as EU launches child protection projects in the quarter 5 of their physical and cognitive potential. He said the federal government had introduced the Nutrition 774 initiative at the National Summit on Nutrition and Food Security, organized by the House of Representatives Committee on Nutrition and Food Security as part of House Open Week activity of the committee across 36 states of assembly. This, without question, an unprecedented stride in our legislative engagement. Yet, we must admit that the occasion brings us here today is not a celebration. For the sake of our time, Fᴜᴜ, we do have Kashim Shettima, the VP, who is lamenting that 40% of Nigerian children are malnourished. European Union as well, they're launching the child protection project in the country, and they are aiming to bridge this gap and to ensure that children have depreciated significantly, because growing up they did not have access to the poor nutrition. While the VP is saying they've launched an initiative to take care of this problem. What do you think, Fᴜᴜ?
What's the name of the initiative?
Nutrition 774 initiative. Fᴜᴜ, please, I beg.
Wait, I'm coming now.
Don't bring your this morning.
I don't drag anything. Just a very innocent question. What's the name of it? We are talking of malnutrition coming as a result of
it can be laudable.
How would they make the food available?
It's VP that will tell us so.
You see, all this sloganeering is not going to solve any problem. We are not short of sloganeering and all this. You see, okay.
Well, do like this.
I don't know. I started the show in a bit of a good mood. You don't know too much of
I
it.
mean, don't you see any hope here? It's not just we're collaborating.
How is it going to solve the problem of malnutrition?
It is a new initiative, so specifics are not made available. But they're saying they're telling us.
There's no specific anything. It's just going to be another way. If they put money into this thing, it's going to be complete waste. It's another cesspool of corruption. It's going to open up opportunity for people to steal money. How do they want to do it? Parents are poor. They can't say it. You go into and you understand that, look, it's not about any 774 anything. This is the time for us to sit down and understand that, look, all these initiatives, 774, 774 call, 772. It's going to be a complete waste of time. Another jamboree, mere slogan that will amount to.
I don't know.
You see the problem now. All motion without movement. No commitment to solving anything. Just lies and deceit. Decision 774.
Do you want to give them a chance first? And let's see.
You look at Osun State now. People are still asking questions around the figure that the governor is saying is do businesses, fight poverty, leave people out of poverty, leave the responsibility of parents feeding their children to them. Let them thrive. That's what we are saying. Fight poverty in the land. Now you start Operation 774. How do you want to do it? Would you be feeding them in their home? Or you go and share rice? We'll give them tractors, Abby.
Yeah, mechanizing farming. In the word of
yeah,
in the voice of
74. You know, that was how we started in the 70s to Operation Feed the Nation. You think saying that today the thing starts? The man that started Operation Feed the Nation, how far did we go with it? Didn't you know we knew what eventually became of that initiative? How the entire land that was supposed to be reserved for that got there for.
Indeed. It's still trends in the papers on mainland Nigeria.
774.
Let's talk a little bit of politics. Labour Party factions differ on threats to expel Obi. We've got his back in coalition talks, says Usman-led caretaker committee. Now, the warring groups in the Labour Party yesterday disagreed on an allegedly controlled by Julius Abure in his decision to join the politicians in the coalition under the African Democratic Congress, ADC. However, the chairman of the National Caretaker Committee of the party, Senator, on the involvement of Peter Obi in that coalition. We have a Julius Abure-led faction who's of the opinion that Peter Obi, you are not allowed to join two political parties. You can be a member of the Labour Party and be an active member of the Labour Party. But we have the chairman of the National Caretaker Committee, NCC of the party, Senator Usman Nanadi, who's saying that they cannot here. And truly, I mean, if we're being objective, what does the Constitution or maybe the Electoral Act says about involvement? Can you actively function in two political parties, or you have to resign one to join one?
Well, Mr. Peter Obi answered that question in his recent interview, where he said that as he stands, the fact that I sat down with them does not automatically mean that I'm a member now. So maybe it's on the process of resigning from the Labour Party to join the ADC. So all this noise that, you know, these are two factions. In fact, Julius Abure will tell you that they don't even know Neda Usman to be from the Labour Party, so that the party can return to its period of irrelevance, like some other parties. It's as simple as that. What was the Labour Party without Peter Obi? Which is momentum that has now put the Labour Party on the platform for us to begin to see it as any relevant political party. What were they before as a party? Before Peter Obi joined them? What will be left of that party gone that he's talking about? So I think that this is just unnecessary hot air, really, because the guy addressed. But you see that some party members, even Rotimi Amechi said,
I'm with you.
You know, it was really that Rotimi Amechi officially resigned from the APC to now join the ADC. And I think maybe that's going to happen with Mr. Peter Obi too. But I think that the Labour Party may not wait for that. If they feel that this is anti-party and they want to expel him, they should expel him and let us have some peace.
Well, the presidency, Bayo Onanuga, he did make a post about this whole thing. He says that it's enemies of the country that are trying to oust. He's alleging that haters of Nigeria's progress are the ones that are banding together to overthrow an administration that has been the most focused, the most transformative in our history. That's Bayo Onanuga's position on the activities of the ADC and their quest to offset the APC as the ruling party. Well, that's that about that report. Let's move quickly now. We do have another report here. Natasha postpones Senate return as National Assembly Tuesday following Friday's judgment which nullified her 6-month sanction. The senator also failed to tender a public apology in 2 major dailies and her social media account in line with court order. She had told her supporter there was heavy presence of security at the National Assembly, which was beefed up with traffic extending to the intersection at the Federal Secretariat, Abuja, following her announcement as promised. But then again, what are your they are unrelated, and do you think she has made the right decision to still step back a little bit, regardless of the court judgment that allows her the authority to resume her?
Our lawyers have advised her properly, giving very good advice to her. So disobedience to a court judgment, if you understand what I'm saying. I've also seen some should appeal that judgment immediately and never reinstate that woman. There's some women groups, numbering about one. Well, we just have to wait to see what the Senate will do, because the judgment was clear, but since it was in before the Senate can take a decision. And for those who are saying that the judgment said she should apologize, no. The issue of apology was to the court, on the issue of contempt of court.
Yes.
So we get to wait to see whether there's going to be the Senate disobeying a court judge, or they will respect whichever one they do. Wait to see.
Well, the presidency is not just giving comments about what's going on with the ADC. They are also sort of upset with the IMF with their recent report on growing inflation and poverty in the country. They're saying, all of a sudden, fault the results. But when they give results like, the growth projection is 3.2%, the IMF is correct. But when they give results that don't necessarily favor them, the IMF is the problem. But you keep taking their money. It's all good. I'll read the rest of the report. ADC will collapse in 6 months, says presidency. Tʀᴇ in an interview actually said that they worry. Oh, and finally, Fuad, Dangote Petroleum Refinery has slashed its petrol price to 820.
Has reduced. It has reduced. I don't know why they use the word slash. They didn't slash anything. A reduction now. With slash, it goes up to 500 or 300.
Oh yeah, it have reduced. Is it good now? It's 820.
I don't know why they use the word slash. Okay. What is it slash now?
Well,
just remove 20 naira or 30 naira. It's slash.
Oh my God, he has reduced it. Let's say he has reduced it a little bit.
But the guy, his man is trying anyway.
Yeah, he is. Environmental readjustment and to protect the environment. You did know that Lagos job losses, it would disrupt the economy, blah, 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 blah. There's a back and forth.
Environment too, because these things clog drainages, they don't decompose easily. So the clog drainages, clog canals, and then the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is also having a safe environment that is flood free and